Welcome to Echoes of Ihsan, the podcast where we like to take a deep dive into Islamic wisdom and how it kind of relates to us today.
Mm-hmm.
And today, we are going super deep into Sahih Bukhari,
Okay.
specifically Book 36, which focuses on hiring.
Okay.
Now, I know what you're thinking.
Mm.
Hiring.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound so thrilling at first glance. But trust me, this book is full of profound insights into ethical conduct,
Yeah.
financial responsibility,
Yeah.
the principles that should guide us in the workplace,
Absolutely.
and just beyond.
Sahih Bukhari is it's so much more than just a collection of Prophet Muhammad's sayings, peace be upon him.
Right.
It's really a glimpse into the heart of early Islamic society. It shows us the values that shaped their lives, social, economic, spiritual.
Yeah, cool.
And when you get to book 36, we see how those values translate into practical guidance on employment,
Yeah.
wages, business dealings.
Okay. I'm very excited to uncover these gems of wisdom. So where do we begin our journey?
Let's start with Hadith 461.
Okay.
It emphasizes the importance of honesty and charity, even when it comes to employment. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "The honest treasurer who gives willingly what he is ordered to give is one of the two charitable persons."
Oh, two charitable persons.
Yeah.
Who's the second? Tell me more.
Well, the Hadith continues and says that the second charitable person is the owner of that wealth.
Oh, okay.
It highlights how even distributing funds responsibly as an employee is considered a charitable act in Islam. It's about more than just handling money.
Right.
It's about handling it with integrity,
Yeah.
transparency, willingness to fulfill the trust that's been placed upon you.
That's powerful. And it elevates the role of the employee, right?
Right.
It goes beyond just doing tasks.
Right.
It's about ethical conduct, recognizing the impact of your actions,
Right.
even when it comes to something like, financial matters.
It goes back to the Islamic principle that any action can be an act of worship if it's done with the right intention. And here, the intention of the treasurer is to distribute those funds fairly honestly,
Yeah.
recognizing that ultimately those resources belong to God.
Right.
They're meant to be used for his purpose.
That makes me think about what we're seeing today, this emphasis on corporate social responsibility,
Right.
ethical financial management.
Absolutely.
It's not just about maximizing profits.
No.
It's about ensuring that those profits benefit society.
You're absolutely right. And Hadith 461 lays that foundation, right? It emphasizes honesty and trustworthiness in all financial dealings,
Yeah.
whether it's corporate level or even managing household finances.
Mm-hmm. It makes you think about all the scandals we've seen,
Yeah.
all the financial misconduct.
Yeah.
Maybe if people had really internalized this principle, it could have been prevented.
It's definitely something to consider.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to Hadith 462.
Okay.
It might seem a little counterintuitive, especially today. This Hadith cautions against aggressively seeking employment.
Wait, hold on. What? I'm so confused.
Yeah.
We're always told to network,
Yeah,
hustle, put ourselves out there to get the perfect job.
right.
How does that fit in with this hadith?
Well, it doesn't advocate for being passive or just resigning yourself to fate.
Okay.
The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "No, we do not appoint for our jobs anybody who demands it earnestly."
Okay.
So what this teaches us is that our approach to employment should be rooted in humility and trust in God's plan.
So it's not about sitting back, waiting for opportunities. It's about putting in the effort,
Right.
honing your skills, but doing it without that desperation.
Absolutely.
Trusting that ultimately God knows what's best for us.
Exactly. It's about putting in the effort, honing your skills, seeking those opportunities,
Yeah.
but not doing it from a place of desperation.
Right. Not attaching your self-worth to the outcome.
Right.
Trust that God knows what's best. If something is meant to be, it will be.
I see how that could be empowering. Imagine going into a job interview,
Yeah.
not feeling anxious, not feeling desperate, feeling calm,
Confident, knowing that you've done your best.
Absolutely. This hadith invites us to kind of reframe our perspective on success, recognizing that true fulfillment comes from aligning our will with the will of God.
Yeah.
That includes trusting his plan for our livelihood.
I love how these sayings, they seem so simple, but they have such profound wisdom. Okay. What's next? What other wisdom awaits?
Well, let's talk about Hadith 463. It gives us a peek into the lives of the prophets,
Okay.
including Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It states that all prophets at some point shepherded sheep.
Shepherded sheep. Interesting. Okay, I have to ask, what's the connection? shepherding and prophethood.
Yeah.
Is there some symbolic link?
I think there's definitely something deeper here. You have to think about the qualities of a shepherd.
Yep.
Patience, responsibility,
Right.
leadership,
Right.
the ability to guide and protect a flock, even when things are challenging, unpredictable. These are all qualities that a prophet needs, right? Someone who guides humanity toward righteousness.
Yeah. It's like divine training
Right.
for leadership, dealing with, well, a whole flock of, let's just say, independent-minded individuals.
Yeah, it's not easy being a shepherd.
No.
You have to have compassion, understand each sheep's needs,
Right.
protect them from predators, lead them to pasture and water.
Yeah.
It's a constant practice of patience, resilience, problem solving.
I can see how those skills would be so valuable for a prophet.
Yeah.
Guiding a community,
Exactly.
facing resistance, right?
Yeah.
Challenges, changing circumstances.
Exactly. It's all about nurturing,
Yeah.
guiding, protecting the flock, literally and metaphorically.
I'm starting to see these hadiths not so much as rules, but like profound lessons
Yeah.
about character development. You know,
Absolutely.
the qualities that help us fulfill our purpose.
Exactly.
Okay, what comes next? What else can we learn from this?
Well, let's move on to Hadith 464 and 465. These tell a story about trust, expertise, and the importance of recognizing talent no matter what your background is. During their migration to Medina, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his companion, Abu Bakr, they needed a guide
Oh,
to navigate the desert.
okay.
And get this, the guide they hired was not a Muslim.
Oh, wow. That's pretty significant.
This might seem like a small detail, but it says a lot about the Prophet's character
Yeah.
and the values that he lived by. Even with all his social and religious divisions of the time, he recognized and valued expertise.
Yeah.
He put his trust in this person's skills and knowledge.
Right.
It didn't matter what his beliefs were.
The message of inclusivity,
Yeah.
right? Recognizing merit,
Yeah.
no matter where you find it.
It challenges the idea that religious boundaries should limit collaboration,
Yeah.
especially when you're looking for knowledge, expertise.
Yeah, and their trust wasn't misplaced.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
The guide got them safely to Medina.
Yeah,
It shows how important it is to value competence and character.
absolutely. This resonates so much today, you know, with all the divisions and prejudices we see.
Yeah.
It reminds us that real progress comes from recognizing our shared humanity,
Exact.
valuing what everyone brings to the table.
Okay, get ready for a story that might make you think a little.
Okay, what is it?
It's Hadith 466. It describes this dispute from the Prophet's time. It might challenge our initial ideas about fairness and justice.
Okay.
Imagine two men get into a heated argument.
Okay.
In a moment of anger, one bites the other.
Oh, wow.
The victim loses a finger and a tooth.
Ouch.
You can imagine people wanted justice.
Yeah.
But when the case went before the Prophet, he surprised everyone. He canceled the lawsuit.
What? He canceled it.
Yeah, he essentially dismissed the case.
Wow.
And he turned to the man who'd lost his finger and tooth and said, "Did you expect him to let his finger in your mouth so that you might snap and cut it, as does a stallion camel?"
So it sounds like the Prophet was saying that the bite was self-defense,
Right.
not a random attack.
Exactly. He was considering the context, not just the injury.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So this hadith shows the Islamic emphasis on proportionality and punishment,
Yes.
considering intent, context. It's not just about, you know, an eye for an eye.
Right.
It's about understanding the circumstances.
It really highlights the importance of taking the whole picture into account.
It's kind of like the complexities that legal systems face today, right?
Yeah.
Context matters.
Absolutely. Hadith 466 reminds us that justice requires wisdom,
Yeah.
discernment, a deep understanding of human nature. It's not just about following rigid rules. It's about seeking truth and fairness,
Yeah.
even in those really challenging situations.
His stories are so fascinating. I can't wait to learn more. What else is there?
Next, we'll look at some hadiths that use analogies
Okay.
to explain divine blessing and the rewards of embracing Islam, even later in life. They challenge our typical understanding of reward
Oh, okay.
and invite us to consider what it means to grow spiritually.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Lead the way.
Okay. Welcome back to our exploration of Sahih Bukhari, Book 36, on hiring. We've already uncovered so many fascinating insights into those Islamic principles of ethical employment and financial conduct.
It really is amazing how these ancient teachings still resonate with us. You know,
Yeah.
like they offer a guide, a compass for how to act in, well, every part of life, including work.
Exactly. And speaking of timeless guidance, let's dive into Hadith 468 and 469,
Right.
where the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, uses this powerful analogy to explain the idea of divine blessing and the rewards of accepting Islam. Even later in life,
Okay.
it really makes us rethink our typical understanding of reward, and it invites us to think about the mystery of God's grace.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me about this analogy.
So picture this. A man hires workers for the day, and he's offering different wages for different shifts.
Okay.
First, he offers 1 kurat, a unit of currency back then, to those who work from morning until midday.
Mm-hmm.
And a group of Jews accepts this offer, and they complete the work.
Okay, so far so good. Sounds like a pretty straightforward deal.
But here's where it gets interesting. The man then offers the same wage, 1 kurat, to those who work from midday till the Asr prayer.
Okay.
That's the late afternoon prayer in Islam.
Mm-hmm.
This time, a group of Christians, they accept, and they fulfill their shift. Finally, as the day is ending, he offers 2 kurats to those who work from Asr until sunset.
Okay.
And a group of Muslims accepts this offer and completes that remaining work.
I think I see where this is going. So the Jews and the Christians, they worked longer, right? For the same pay or even less, and they complain about it.
You got it. They approach the man and they're questioning, like, why were the Muslims who worked the shortest shift paid double?
Right.
It seems like blatant favoritism.
Totally.
But the man, and he represents God in this analogy, responds with this profound statement. He says, "Have I withheld any of your rights? This is my blessing. I bestow it upon whomever I wish." That's a very powerful response. It's not just a simple exchange, a transaction. It's about understanding that God's grace, it works in ways that we can't always comprehend.
Exactly. It highlights that God's blessings, they're not limited to just those worldly gains or measured by our, human standards of what's fair.
Yeah.
It's about understanding that His grace, it operates on a different level,
Right.
beyond what we can grasp. And He gives His favors according to His wisdom and mercy.
It also raises that question of comparing spiritual rewards with material ones.
Yeah.
How do you even quantify the value of embracing Islam? Or any faith, really.
It's a great question, and it's complicated. The Hadith doesn't give us like a clear-cut answer,
Right.
but it suggests that the real reward isn't about those material possessions or worldly achievements.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing and appreciating the blessings that we receive, both the tangible ones and the intangible ones.
Yeah.
It's understanding that our relationship with God and our striving for righteousness, those are the true measures of success. That's a beautiful way to look at it. It's a reminder to be grateful for what we have and to trust in God's wisdom, even when things don't make sense from our limited perspective.
Absolutely. And now let's shift gears a bit and look at the importance of keeping those contracts
Right.
and how serious it is to break oaths, especially the ones made in God's name. Hadith 470, it's a powerful reminder of what happens when you betray that trust.
Okay, this sounds pretty serious. It sounds like we're shifting from blessings to accountability here.
Yeah.
So what happens if you break a covenant, especially one made in God's name?
Well, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said that breaking a covenant made in God's name is one of 3 actions that will make God your opponent
Okay.
on the day of judgment.
Wow.
That's when your deeds are weighed
Right.
and your eternal fate is decided.
So what are the other 2?
Well, the other 2 are selling a free person into slavery and withholding a worker's wages.
It's a pretty powerful statement. It shows how seriously Islam takes breaking oaths and the consequences of our actions.
Yeah. It underscores honesty, integrity, and accountability in everything we do,
Yeah.
personal and professional.
Yeah.
Our words should mean something.
Right.
We should keep our promises, especially when we say it's in God's name.
This principle is relevant even today. So many of our transactions rely on contracts,
Yeah.
agreements.
Absolutely.
It's the foundation for building trust and keeping things running smoothly in society.
And the Hadith emphasizes that upholding agreements made in God's name, well, that has an extra layer of sanctity.
Right.
It's like a reminder that our actions have consequences in this world and the next.
Yeah?
Our commitment to God, it should show in how we treat others.
Okay. I want to hear about the next hadith. It sounds like it has another analogy about the rewards of embracing Islam and sticking with your faith.
You're right. Hadith 471 tells us this story about groups of workers.
Okay.
They quit before finishing their tasks, but the last group, they keep going, and they end up getting the wages of all 3. It's like a metaphor for the special reward waiting for those who embrace Islam and stay strong in their beliefs.
So the workers in this story, they're like different religious groups
Right.
throughout history,
Yeah.
making different choices that determine their outcome.
Exactly. The first two groups, the ones that quit early, they could be interpreted as those who, well, maybe they rejected the message of Islam, or they strayed from true monotheism. Maybe they followed different paths.
Okay.
The last group, the ones who stuck it out, they represent those who really embrace Islam,
Okay.
stay committed to their faith even when things get tough.
These analogies make it so much easier to understand these complex concepts.
Right.
Like the image of those workers really drives home the point,
Yeah.
about striving for righteousness and staying dedicated to faith, even when you're tempted to give up.
It's like a reminder, your efforts matter.
Yeah.
That true success lies in fulfilling your purpose and staying true to your covenant with God. The journey of faith, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Perseverance is key.
These teachings are really profound. They offer so much insight into faith and reward and aligning our actions with our beliefs. What's next?
Well, let's move on to Hadith 472. It tells a story about three men. They're trapped in a cave. They're facing danger. Their only hope is to pray and remember their most righteous deeds.
Wow.
It really highlights how powerful prayer is and how even small acts of goodness can have a big impact.
Okay.
And how God can intervene in miraculous ways when you turn to him with sincerity.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. What were those deeds? The ones that saved them.
Well, each man, as they're facing death, tells a story. The first one talks about how he dedicated himself to his parents, even when they were hard to please, showing his commitment to family, fulfilling his duty.
Right.
The second one, he talks about how he stayed committed to chastity,
Okay.
even when tempted, showing his strong character
Yeah.
and sticking to his morals. The third man, he tells about how he returned a lost wage.
Okay.
Even though it had grown many times over,
Yeah.
it shows his integrity and his refusal to be greedy.
These are really inspiring stories. It's like a reminder that even those small acts of kindness, they can make a difference, not just in our lives, but in others too. And the fact that their prayers, along with remembering these good deeds, led to their rescue, it's like a testament to the power of faith, that God's always watching, ready to help when we turn to him sincerely.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is that their prayers, they're answered, but not all at once. As they're telling about their deeds, the rock blocking the cave, it slowly moves, little by little, until they're finally free. It's like a symbol, right?
Yeah.
Our good deeds can pave the way for God to help us, even in our darkest moments.
Yeah.
It's about trusting that what we do, even if it seems small, is never wasted, that God can use it to bring his mercy to us.
It emphasizes how our actions and their consequences, they're all connected in this world and the next.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful reminder that God's mercy is always there, especially when we try to do the right thing and ask for his help when we need it.
Okay, so now let's look at another important theme in these hadiths.
Okay, what is it?
One that's particularly relevant today, when wealth and material possessions seem so important.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about Islamic principles for ethical business practices
Okay.
and why it's so important to manage wealth responsibly. It's not just about making money.
Right.
It's about using it wisely and generously to make things better
Yeah.
for ourselves and for our communities.
That's a really important conversation to have, especially now when wealth inequality is such a big issue and the pursuit of material things often overshadows compassion and social responsibility.
Exactly.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the wisdom of Sahih Bukhari, Book 36 on hiring. We've been on quite a journey, exploring ethical employment, fulfilling contracts, and those profound lessons in the simplest stories.
It really has been fascinating, unpacking these timeless teachings and seeing how relevant they still are today. And speaking of relevance, let's shift our focus to Hadith 473.
Okay.
It offers this powerful reflection on wealth, social responsibility, the importance of using our resources for good. It reminds us that true prosperity, it isn't just about accumulating wealth,
Right.
but about recognizing its purpose and sharing it generously with those in need.
It's a topic that's so relevant today, especially when you see all the wealth inequality, the focus on material possessions. It often overshadows compassion,
Right.
social responsibility.
This hadith takes us back
Okay.
to those early days of Islam, when the Muslim community in Medina was facing hardships, struggling to get by.
Yeah.
It tells us how the Prophet's companions, peace be upon him, they would work so hard just to earn a little food,
Right.
to sustain themselves, their families. It reminds us of the sacrifices they made,
Yeah.
the challenges they faced,
Right.
and how strong their commitment to their faith was.
It is humbling to remember those early days,
Yeah.
to see how Islam was built on resilience and dedication. It makes you appreciate what we have today.
Yeah, and what's interesting is the Hadith contrasts that time of hardship with the wealth. The prosperity some Muslims experienced later
Yeah.
as the community grew.
Right.
The message is clear.
What is it?
Increased wealth. It shouldn't lead to complacency.
Right.
Entitlement. It should lead to more generosity, deeper commitment to social responsibility. It's like a call to action
Yeah.
for those who have been blessed with abundance,
Mm-hmm.
to remember those who are less fortunate, to use their resources to uplift and support their communities.
That's a powerful message. Wealth isn't the end goal.
Yeah.
It's a means to an end,
Right.
a tool to create change, right?
Yeah.
Alleviate suffering.
This hadith echoes the principle of zakat, one of the 5 pillars of Islam.
Yeah.
It mandates giving a portion of your wealth to charity. It's designed to ensure social justice, redistribute wealth, create a safety net for the most vulnerable. It's about recognizing our interconnectedness. Our individual prosperity is tied to the well-being of everyone.
Makes me think about modern ideas.
Yeah.
Like progressive taxation, social safety nets,
Yeah.
systems that try to create a more equitable distribution of wealth, support those who are struggling. It's fascinating how these principles, they come from Islamic teachings, but resonate with how we try to deal with inequality today.
It really speaks to the lasting wisdom of these teachings, their ability to guide us toward a just and compassionate society.
Okay, let's dive into some specific business practices that are prohibited in Islam.
Okay.
They really highlight the importance of fairness,
Mm-hmm.
transparency, ethical conduct in our financial dealings.
Okay.
Hadith 474, it talks about 2 things: meeting caravans on the way to manipulate prices, and acting as a broker for a Bedouin who might not be aware of market values.
They might seem like minor details, but they show a commitment to preventing exploitation, ensuring all parties are treated fairly.
Why are those practices forbidden? What's the reasoning behind it?
It goes back to that Islamic emphasis on justice, equity,
Yeah.
protecting people from exploitation, meeting caravans before they reach the market. It creates an opportunity to take advantage of traders, buy goods at low prices because they're eager to sell, then resell them in the market for a much higher price.
So it disrupts the natural balance of supply and demand,
Exactly.
creates an unfair advantage,
Right.
ultimately harms both the traders and the buyers.
And acting as a broker for someone who doesn't understand the market, like a Bedouin,
Yeah.
they could get cheated.
Right.
Sell their goods for less than they're worth. It's a betrayal of trust. It goes against that Islamic principle of protecting the vulnerable.
This resonates so much with ethical concerns today. We have laws against things like price gouging, insider trading,
Yeah.
misleading advertising. It's all about making sure the market benefits everyone.
Exactly. These hadiths give us this ethical framework for business, for financial transactions.
Right.
One that prioritizes honesty, fairness, social responsibility, taking care of everyone involved.
It challenges us to think about the impact of our actions, not just on our profits,
Right.
but on the lives of others.
Okay. Are you ready for another story?
I am. What's next?
Hadith 475. It's a story about unwavering faith in the face of adversity. It shows the power of conviction,
Okay.
the belief that God's justice prevails, even when things are tough.
Yeah.
It introduces us to Kebab. He was a companion of the Prophet, peace be upon him,
Mm-hmm.
a skilled blacksmith, working for a wealthy man named Alas bin Wail.
Okay.
Kebab finished his work. He went to ask for payment. But Alas, he was known for his arrogance,
Right.
hostility toward Islam.
Yeah.
He refused to pay unless Kebab renounced his faith.
Wow. That's a tough spot. What did Kebab do?
Kebab's response was incredible. He refused to compromise his beliefs. Even with the risk of financial hardship,
Yeah.
he said, even if Alice didn't pay him in this life, God would reward him in the next.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that true wealth wasn't about material things,
Right.
but about his faith, his commitment to God.
Kebab's face, his willingness to put his principles first. It's inspiring. It reminds us that true fulfillment comes from aligning our actions with our values, trusting that God's justice will prevail.
It highlights that focus on the hereafter,
Yeah.
not just on this temporary world.
He reminds us our ultimate goal is to please God, to earn his favor. Sometimes that means sacrifice, patience, trust in his plan.
This story makes us think about our own priorities.
Yeah.
What would we sacrifice for our beliefs? What's the price we're willing to pay for our principles?
It's a deep question. It makes us really think about what our faith means to us. What does success really mean?
Okay, let's move on to Hadith 476. It talks about something we still discuss today. Is it okay to get paid for religious services?
That's interesting. It's about finding that balance, right, between providing services and making sure those practices aren't exploited.
It's a nuanced issue. So in this hadith, some of the Prophet's companions were traveling.
Okay.
They came across a tribe and asked for hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
But the tribe, they were hostile. They refused.
Oh, wow.
Then the chieftain was bitten by a snake. He became very ill.
That's a twist. So the companions, they could have helped the people who had rejected them.
Exactly. The tribe, they were desperate. They knew the companions had knowledge of ruqya.
Okay.
That's a form of Islamic healing, using verses from the Quran and supplications to seek healing from God. So they begged for help.
So the companions could have shown compassion and helped, but it seems like they wanted to teach a lesson too.
You're right. They agreed to perform the ruqya, but only if they got paid.
Okay.
A flock of sheep.
Okay.
They used this to highlight reciprocity.
Yeah.
Refusing hospitality has consequences. Even spiritual knowledge and services have value.
That's really smart.
Yeah.
They weren't being greedy.
No.
They were using this situation to teach about fairness, respect, and the value of knowledge and skills, even spiritual ones.
It established the idea that using your knowledge and skills to help others, even spiritual knowledge, can be compensated.
Right.
It's about recognizing expertise, making sure those who provide services, even religious ones, are treated fairly.
That brings up some big questions
Yeah.
about commodifying spirituality, the ethics of charging for religious services.
It's complex. The Hadith don't give a hard and fast rule for every situation.
Right.
But it does give us a guiding principle.
Okay.
The exchange of knowledge and services, even spiritual ones, should be based on mutual respect, fairness, recognizing the value being offered.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be about exploitation
Right.
or greed, but about genuinely helping others, receiving fair compensation for your time and expertise.
It's like a reminder, right?
Yeah.
Don't just think of spiritual things as products to buy and sell. Think about the ethical side of it, the sacred aspect.
It's finding that balance, right, between appreciating those services and making sure spiritual knowledge isn't exploited for profit.
Yeah.
Making sure religious practice comes from sincere intentions.
Right.
A desire to serve God and humanity, not just material pursuits or making money.
We've covered so much.
I know, right?
It's amazing how these hadiths offer guidance on so many things.
Yeah.
From employment ethics to financial responsibility and how to practice our faith. What else can we learn from this book?
Let's wrap things up
Okay.
by looking at a few hadiths that show how the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, always paid for services, even something as simple as cupping.
Okay.
You know, that traditional medical practice,
Yeah.
using heated cups to draw blood.
Mm.
These might seem like small things,
Okay.
but they show a deep commitment to fairness,
Yeah.
honoring agreements, leading by example.
Why was it so important for the Prophet to pay for cupping? I mean, it was common practice, right?
And it shows he was committed to upholding agreements,
Yeah.
valuing the work of others, no matter what their status was,
Right.
or how small the service seemed. He always paid. Even though he was a prophet, a leader, he wasn't above fulfilling his obligations, honoring the work of others.
That's leading by example.
Right.
He lived by the values he preached. It wasn't just grand gestures.
Yeah. It was in those everyday actions, showing that every interaction should be fair.
Yeah.
We shouldn't take anyone's work for granted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This really emphasizes respecting labor, valuing skills and expertise, recognizing that all work, whether it's a skilled professional or a laborer, deserves to be recognized and compensated fairly.
It's about creating a society where everyone feels valued, respected, no matter what their job is.
True leadership isn't about demanding respect.
Right.
It's about earning it through humility, integrity, and consistently doing the right thing, even in the smallest things.
Absolutely. And to finish our discussion about permissible and prohibited earnings, Hadiths 482 through 485, they list specific earnings that are considered unlawful in Islam.
Okay, what are they?
They mention the price of a dog, earnings from prostitution, fees from soothsaying, and payment for animal population.
Okay.
These might seem very different, but they all go against the principles of ethical conduct,
Yeah.
social responsibility, living a life pleasing to God.
Right. They all involve harm,
Yeah.
exploitation,
Yeah.
going against what Islam considers pure and ethical.
It reminds us that making money shouldn't be our only goal. We should be committed to ethical conduct,
Right.
to living in a way that pleases God and benefits society. Think about where your income comes from.
Yeah.
Make sure your financial activities align with your values, that they contribute to your well-being and the well-being of your community. True wealth isn't just about what you have.
Right.
It's about your intentions, your actions, and the positive impact you make on the world.
This has been such an incredible journey. We've learned so much from Sahih Bukhari, Book 36.
It really has been.
From the importance of honesty and trustworthiness in work, to ethical business practices, managing our wealth responsibly, and making sure our earnings are permissible. These hadiths offer timeless wisdom for navigating the complexities of work, finances, and our responsibilities to ourselves and society.
It is remarkable how these teachings from centuries ago still speak to us.
Yeah.
They give us guidance and inspiration as we face the challenges of modern life. And as we conclude, I'd like to leave you with a question to think about.
Okay.
If the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, were here today, what jobs, what business practices do you think he would support? What would he condemn, and why?
That's a great question. It makes us think about how these principles apply to our lives today, to examine our own choices and actions. How can we help create a world that reflects fairness, justice, compassion, and ethical conduct as taught by Islam? Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Sahih Bukhari. Until next time, may peace and blessings be upon you.